nutshell is first of all, I tell my own story, which is one prior to all of the success that I've had on television and hosting TV shows,
sure.
and in my legal practice. You know, the short version is, if you're familiar with the movie Animal House, do you remember that film from years ago?
Yes.
Remember, there's a speech in the movie where the dean says to one of the characters, "Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life." And sadly, that's the way that I was going through life. You know, I had significant addiction issues. I was bankrupt. I was nearly 50 pounds overweight, and I had a moment where everything turned around for me. And that moment was over 13 years ago, but since then, I've had significant professional success. I've created and sold several businesses that were significant multi-million-dollar ventures. Not only did I lose the 50 pounds, but I've done 7 Ironman triathlons, and I've had some significant wins. Of course, the proudest accomplishment in my life is that my daughter, who's 11 years old, has never seen Daddy under the influence of anything, and that's the
if you don't
biggest
mind,
deal.
what were you into? What was the drug of choice?
My drug of choice was really yours. You know, anything you had was fine. I was heavily into marijuana, heavily into cocaine and pills, and just a variety.
Pills is very hard.
Just a variety. No, it was incredibly rough journey.
Even if you don't want to get off of it, sometimes the body, let's put marijuana aside for a second. With certain pills, you take it after day and day, and you know what? I'm going to stop. Your body is dying for it because, as you know, it's crazy.
It's a physical. It's not just a mental game with some of them, and certainly with the pills. I had a very, very rough. It was a very rough time where I basically didn't sleep for about 3 weeks. But that wasn't the end of it for me. Between 1995 and 2000, I was in 5 different treatment centers and relapsed after every one. And so, really, what my presentation is about, it's less about the horror show that was my life before, but it was. But really, it's about some of the lessons learned since then. And, what I did is I went back and I reverse engineered and said to myself, well, look, how did you create this moment of change? Because I had struggled mightily for years wanting to change and being unable to do it. And so I was able to go back and look at it anew and say, okay, how did you do this? How did you produce these kinds of dramatic changes in your life? To go from bankruptcy to multimillionaire, to go from, literally homeless and addicted to hosting my own TV show and going on CNN and people actually giving a crap about what it was I had to say and actually having something to say. How did you do it? And so what I really did is I distilled down into 3 really usable areas. How did I change my thinking? How did I change the kinds of decisions that I made? How did I change the actions that I took? And this is really what Be the Billboard is about. What the billboard refers to is the opportunity that all of us have to not only transform our own lives, but to inspire other people to do the same. I really believe that all of us go through our lives being one of 2 things, either an example of what's possible or a warning of what's possible, but not in a good way. And ultimately, we are all. It's funny because I used to think the billboard was aspirational. I used to think of the billboard as a metaphor for something I'd be in the future. Like if you look at a billboard now, companies put their they put their best stuff on it, but it's not the old stuff, it's the new stuff, the stuff that's coming out in 2 months, in 6 months. That's what goes up on the billboard. And so my thinking about it has evolved. I used to think about me as a billboard as being aspirational, something that I'd be in the future. And then when I really sat and thought about it, I have that, holy crap, I'm actually being the billboard right now all the time. Always. I'm always being an example of what's possible or a warning about what's possible. And once I got clear about that, that's what allowed me to go back and reverse engineer and figure out how I produce those changes in my own life, and then, of course, how I can help other people do the same. And that's where I say that I really am unique in that I'm hoping to put myself out of business. I'm hoping that my law firm needs to go out of business because there's just nothing more for us to do. And for me, that's a legacy issue. That's, you know, if I'm lucky enough to have a deathbed moment where I can look back and reflect over my own life, I don't want my legacy to be, wow, you know, Darren helped put more criminals back out on the street, more drunk drivers back out on the road than any other lawyer. I would much rather have my legacy be something bigger. So that's, I mean, obviously this is all very broad brush strokes. We get down to the nitty-gritty in my presentation, which is, it's an hour-long presentation. Although on this particular night we've got a whole event with some live music, and it's going to be a real humdinger. And I tell the longer version of it there, but it's less about me and more about what the audience can learn from my experiences, so they can impact their own lives. Because really, that's what it's all about. I'm on a mission to help people live a better, more fulfilled, more empowered life, and if I can do that, then with even one person, if one person in that audience goes out and changes their life, that's a win for me. So that's what the thing's all about. And, of course, it is absolutely costing $0 to any of your listeners. Sign up, go to BeTheBillboard.com, just register so we have a seat saved for you, because we only seat 400 in the theater, and at 401 there's no chairs. So sign up just so we know you're coming, and please. I'm sorry?
Absolutely. Are you going to, and first of all, I want to commend you on that. That is an amazing story, and it deserves to be in a book, which leads me to my next question. Have you thought about writing a book about this?
I have, and that's actually going to be, it's very much on my radar, and that's the next project after we do this event, is to be able to put this into a book. It's just part of the mission that I'm on, to reach the most people most effectively, and I think a book may actually help do it in a way that's more efficient, because I can only get in front of so many audiences so many days a year, you know.